Hello, this is Mrs. Heinzman, and I'm going to talk to you about your Canon Powershot. What I want to do is do a review of where all of your modes are and different aspects of the camera that goes along with your pamphlet that you have as a study guide and for some of the assignments that you will have to do here. So if you remember, on top of your camera, you have the camera modes. You have M for manual, AV is for aperture priority, TV for shutter priority, P for program, and then you have live and you have auto. We can set the ISO, the white balance, and do changes to these four modes, but you are going to find that on auto it does all the thinking for you. And then if you look at scenes, it will allow you to pick in certain cases, certain situations like indoor shooting, possibly even in the museum or that, but you will find most of your modes right here that you're going to be using. And also up here is your shutter button that you press on it and it does the clicking, and you have your button here for the zoom. And if you want to use the flash, you just pull up right here so that the flash will come on. And so if we go to turn it on, you're going to notice that this lens is attached. It cannot be removed, which is why it's called a Powershot. It's a wonderful little Canon camera. The lens comes out once you turn it on. Then when you look at the back, one of the things that you're going to see is all the information of what the settings are. So one of the things that you can do is if you need to change your ISO, you click right here on this round button here. If you click on it, you will notice that your ISO will come up. So if I am going to be outside, I can use, you can also turn it to auto where it will kind of try to estimate, whoops, back out of there. Try to estimate what the ISO should be according to what the light is. So I can go all the way up to 3200. Now what does ISO mean? ISO refers to the sensitivity of the sensor is equal to what the film version used to be and how much silver nitrate bubbles used to sit on the film to be sensitive to the light. And so again, the larger the number, the grainier your image will become. So it's not always wise to put it at 3200. One of the things that you're going to find is indoors, you want to start at 400. You might have to go up to 800 or 600 in dark situations. Now, if you're outside, you will definitely want to stay with 200, possibly 100 or 80. But most situations you're always going to be at 200. So then if you click this button that says function set, if you click on that, you will notice that it brings up a screen, and right now it's already kind of on the white balance. So if I take this knob here and kind of push on it, it will take you into the different modes, and then you can take and scroll down. This is cloud for cloudy, tungsten, that is one door, indoor lighting, and another one is fluorescent lighting. You're going to find these two might be useful for when you're inside depending upon the lighting that there is. This one is a different type of fluorescent, so the best chance of having the right one is when you select it, and if what you look through the screen looks like the same coloration you see in that room, you know that you've selected the right one. And so if I go up here and I hit cloudy, that is on a cloudy day when there's not as much light and it's very soft. And then you have daylight when the sun is all the way out. and then auto. So if you didn't know anything, you could just pick auto. But at this point, you do know something. And then you can also custom make your own type white balance for certain type of situations. But what we'll do is I'm just going to collect, do fluorescent for inside, because that's where we're at the moment. And then if I hit the function key, then I can come down a slot. And this is where you can also decide whether or not when you use the flash, you can increase it or decrease it depending upon how close the person is or whatever object you're doing. And so that can be selected. And then go back in there. If I go down another slot, you're going to have the drive mode. What is the drive mode? Well, if I want to take, get back in there. If I go up a slot, it's a single shot. When you click, it takes one shot. It then has to process it. If you were in a situation and you were at a sports game, you would want to select continuous, so that all cameras, when you do continuous, it will go click, click, click for a certain amount of time, and then it has to process it all. But it allows you to take multiple shots in certain situations. And then you have another one that's a continuous shooting, that's an autofocus one. So you're going to find that this is very valuable. And I'm going to just do single shot right now. And everything that I have selected, you'll notice, is going to show up on the screen. So then I'm going to go back to the function key. I am going to go down here, and you have a still mode aspect ratio. And it depends upon, whoops. And what that means is that, do you want your piece to be a certain ratio from the width and the height of it. And so you can you can decide which one it is. Also, you're going to notice that it tells you exactly how many shots are left on the card that you have in there. But you're going to find that a lot of times I shoot at a ratio of 3:2 for printing purposes. So if I go back out and I come down, we're going to go to the recording pixels. And so I'm going to move over there. So you're going to notice that you have large. It means on here, whoops, go back in, go back over. It tells you that I have 6,654 shots remaining. And so this is, and you'll notice that this has more pixels, 11 million pixels. And then as I go down, you're going to notice I can shoot a lot more photos, but you're going to notice that that's only using 5 million megapixels per shot, and then down to 2 million megapixels, and then 0.3 million. So you're going to find that most of the time I keep it right here. I want the full amount. You never know when you're going to have that great shot that you want all those pixels and you want to be able to blow it up. And then you also have the compression if you need to do the compression, and it tells you super fine or fine. And so I just kind of leave it at super fine. And then you have movie quality. We're not dealing with movie quality. So we're going to go back up here. And then we have another one that is a light meter. The light meter is very important. And if we go over here, evaluative, it means that it's going to look at the entire screen of what you are taking, and it will make an adjustment of what the value should be of that photo, because it's trying to balance all the light. So then if I go down and select this one, center weighted, it is what it is. It's going to really deal with what is in the middle of your picture and ignore what's on the outside in adjusting the lighting. And then spot meter is what it is. It means it's only going to look at what light is hitting this center spot of your camera when it is focusing on it. It is only dealing with that spot. It doesn't care what's going on anywhere else. So if you were taking a picture of a ring and you need the detail, but you did not care about what was on the outside, you definitely would want to do the spot meter. So I'm going to bring this up and I'm going to do center weighted. And so you're going to notice that when you look on the back side, you can see all of that being listed. Now, one of the things that you can also do is if you click on this, you can also set the timer so that you can take self-portraits of yourself and set it on something, focus, and then go sit in that image. Especially when you don't want something to, if you don't want something to wiggle, that's very good. You just set it on a rock or put it on a table and then focus, put it on the, click it on the timer, and then get in the picture. And then on this other side, I think we mentioned it, that you have your flash, and then if I click on here, if I wanted to do the macro, when I wanted to take pictures of something really up close, I would select on that. The middle one is normal. It's a person and stuff in that picture. It's giving you a certain amount of depth of field, and so it's a kind of a normal shot. So, and then on manual focus, then you would do all the adjustments and making sure that it's focused in that. That's not something that you really want to do at this time. So I'm going to turn it to manual mode so that when we turn it and look at the screen, we notice that we have our shutter right here. And if we want to access that, then what we want to do is we're going to turn this knob here so that we can go to 1/60th over 1/60th. So 1/60th, if you remember, you everything starts to blur when you start going down. This gets slower and slower and slower. You can notice that it's a slower speed. It's going to let more light in. So usually you want to start about 1/60th, and otherwise you have to use a tripod if you go under that. And then if you are outside and it's very windy, we would want to go up to maybe 1/640. I start usually about 250, and depending upon how windy it is. Now, if I want to access the aperture, then what I want to do is click on this button here. You'll notice that it toggled over. So then when we go to here, we can then start moving it. So we're going to run it all the way down to, it went, whoops, didn't mean to hit you. Get back out. No, I don't want you. Come on. No. Come on. I need to take that off. Otherwise, we're going to have a surprise here. So when I am toggling, so when you push that, it will toggle back and forth. Now, when we're at an F, which means f-stop, so if we're at an F 3.4, the diameter is going to be kind of open, and then as you go to go upward to F8, it is going to decrease and get smaller, and that your aperture deals with your depth of field, what is in focus from me to wherever the camera is looking, how far it is looking out there. So F 3.4 is considered a shallow depth of field. And if I keep turning it, F4 is still, all the way up to about F5.6 is still considered a fairly good shallow depth of field. But once you start getting up here to 6 feet and up, especially up to F8, that is going to take in all the distance almost into affinity of what it can see way back there. Other cameras, SLR cameras, will go up to an F22. And so that really is a crisper depth of field. So what you will find is that at an F8 it is far more closed, and so the depth of field of what is in front of what you are taking. So if you were taking a picture of someone 4 feet from you, F8 means that everything in front of him is in focus and everything in back of him will also be in focus. But if I take this back down to 3.4, it means a short distance in front of that person that you are taking that picture of is in focus, and only a very short distance behind him will be in focus, and everything else will be blurred beyond that. And sometimes if you don't want the distractions, that's why we take shallow depth of field pictures. So under manual mode, it allows us to change both of these controls, your shutter and your aperture. And then you can make minor adjustments by changing your exposure dial. And so here is 0. And then as you go up, and if you go down, this is minus, and if you go up, it's going to be plus, meaning less light is allowed in, more light is allowed in. So if I come in here and I'm going to take this back down to an f point 3.4. So I'm going to come back over here and, whoops, didn't mean that. Hit this button to go back to toggle over to the shutter. I'm going to decrease, and you can see I'm on the light. And what you'll notice is you can see this dial moving. It's now on 0. It's saying I have an equal amount of light to take a picture, but it is at 1/50, which means I will have a little bit of shakiness and distortion. But if I move it, you'll notice it drops to 1/30. Now if I go the other direction, it will then get darker. So sometimes what you can do is when you're taking a picture, and especially under manual mode, you're always wanting to try to get this at 0 here. And that way you know that you've taken a proper picture that is going to have the proper exposure. So what you can do is you need to pick up your camera, go through, review where everything is at, and then what I will be doing is giving you multiple assignments here that you will be required to do, and then you will be required to upload them to a Google account, and you will share them in a folder with me. This ends this short demo. It's probably not that short, but it is a demo for using and reviewing using our Powershot Canon cameras in our class.